Alright, welcome back guys, Vision here, Blind Entertainment, bringing you guys another video. Today I'm going to be giving you my review for Walking Dead Episode 10, The Lost and the Plunderers review. Now if The Walking Dead is something you're interested in, something you want to know my thoughts on, hit the subscribe button down below and hit the bell icon, that way you won't miss any of my future reviews on The Walking Dead moving forward. Now let's begin. So first, we got the Michonne story in this episode. Now, right away, I want to mention the kind of title cards for each character's individual story. I like how they did that. I like how it's different. But at the same time, I feel like when they split up each character's individual story, it kind of hurt the story in a way. Because it felt like at certain points, when they cut off and went to other characters' stories, it felt forced and like they cut off too soon to jump to commercial break, if you understand what I mean. It worked well for the episode in season 4, I forget the name of it, where they did each character story when they were on the road. That worked well, but for some reason here, it felt like every time they cut off and went to commercial and then started another character story, it just started and stopped a little too, like, they cut off right before something big in the story, and it just felt a little forced, in my opinion. But you got Michonne, she's grieving the loss of Carl, and she's just kind of trying to figure out her emotions and whatnot. And she is taking out walkers in Alexandria. And then she noticed, and then her and Rick decide to leave Alexandria. And as they're leaving, Michonne notices that the gazebo is on fire. Now, at that moment, she says that that's where Carl used to sit. I think she's on the roof or in the gazebo. However, I don't remember at all Carl ever sitting at or on the roof of the gazebo. I don't know. If someone out there remember seeing that at any point in the show, please let me know, because I don't remember that. And it felt a little weird that she'd say that. And unless you have proof and give me something, please let me know, because I don't remember ever seeing that. But Rick has to stop her because it's a lost cause and zombies are overrunning the place. So they leave, and Rick and her decide to go to the scavengers base at the junkyard. And this is my second con of her story, is when they enter the junkyard, it's revealed that they all turn to walkers. And this is something I think was a little forced, in my opinion. They should have ended the episode with them going through the doors of the junkyard and entering it, not revealing that everybody had turned into walkers. Because we got the Negan story. Now, this is iffy for me, because I'm kind of back and forth for this one, because I feel like they could have just combined this with the Simon story and just made both parts Simon's story. But I understand they wanted to break it up and give Negan one story. And so this one includes, him telling Simon to go to the junkyard and take out one of their people as kind of a reminder that they had a deal with the Saviors, and to, just reinforce their power over the scavengers and the junkyard people. But at that moment, some of Negan's men bring in the crate from the hilltop, which contains Dean, and as we all know, Dean has been turned into a zombie, and Negan takes him out. And Simon realizes it's one of his people and comes enraged and wants to eliminate the entire hilltop at that point and doesn't understand it. And Simon just is angry at this point, and he wants revenge, and he's out for revenge, and this is going to fuel him pretty much for the rest of the episode. But Negan tells him, you gotta keep it together. We have rules. This is what we're gonna do, and you're gonna follow the rules one way or another, pretty much. And that's where this story ends. And it just kind of, I don't know, there wasn't much to the Negan story. It was just more, I feel like it was just more for Simon. And I feel like they just should have combined this and the other part of Simon's story and just made both parts Simon's story. I don't really understand why they made it Negan's story. It just, I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Do you think this should have been part of Simon's story as well, or do you think it was okay having it as part of Negan's story? I'm 50-50. I feel like it's alright, but it could have just been a tad bit better. I don't know. It just felt forced, and then they cut it off, like I said. Especially right here when they cut off this story, it felt so weird because they cut it off and they had the two characters stand there for like 30 seconds and then they cut to commercial, and it just felt awkward and weird in a way. But let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Did you like the Negan story, or do you think they should have combined it with the with the Simon story. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Next, we got the Enid story. Now, this one felt really, really forced. I know they probably had to address the whole Oceanside thing, but I feel like this story felt very, very forced, and they just kind of interrupt the flow of the other stories going on. You had the whole Simon thing going on, and you had the whole Rick and Scavenger stuff going on, and I feel like they cut to the Enid story, and it felt so like a derailment from what was going on in the rest of the story. It could have just been me, but it felt like so weird. But you got Enid and Aaron there, and they've been taken prisoner due to Enid killing Cindy's grandma, Natanya, and you got her trying to convince them to join them, go to war. And again, this is what I was talking about earlier. Is this feels so repetitive to last season, especially since it's the second half again. You got them at another community, wanting them to join the war, similar to the kingdom, yet they keep saying no, no, and eventually they are going to join the war, and if they don't, it's stupid. But we know they're eventually most likely going to join the war, and it just felt like, I just wanted them to say yes and leave with them, and it just kind of annoyed me. And then they decided to let them go, and Aaron decides he's going to camp out outside their settlement and try to convince them to go to war with them. And Enid leaves. Now, the one thing I liked that came out of this part was the whole bond him and Enid are beginning to share. I really like that bond, and it actually feels like a genuine bond. And I feel like they could implement that later on in this series. Maybe make Aaron a bit like her father figure in a way. I think that'd be a really cool thing to do. And I really like the actress who plays Enid. I think she's definitely becoming better, and I feel like if my prediction's right and she does take on some of Carl's story, it would be a good thing. I think she's a great actress, actually. I know she gets a lot of hate, but I think she's definitely been doing better in recent episodes. And I really like it, but like I said, I feel like this episode, this part of the story was a bit of a derailment to the overall story. Like I said, we know they're most likely going to join the militia, and it just felt like a waste of time. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Another thing I think would be cool, though, is if the whole Simon killing all of Oceanside's men theory is correct. I think it's so cool, though, if that is true, that we have these two characters at Oceanside. Meanwhile, you got Simon going to the scavengers and massacring all of their people. I think if that theory is true, having these two stories coincide in the same episode, that's pretty cool. Then you got the Simon story. Now, this is probably my favorite part of the episode, is the Simon story. Now, we all saw this part coming a mile away, especially if you've seen the trailer. But how it played out was really cool, especially since you already know he's enraged and mad at the Hilltop for what they did. And now he's coming here. You know he's unstable pretty much. And everything that goes on, Jadis is kind of not taking everything too seriously. She really isn't too upset with what happened. She lies about what happened. And Simon, he's pretty much had enough today. And he, like we all know, takes out her two lieutenants. And then, having had enough of her games, after she decked him pretty much and knocked him to the ground, he gets mad and just tells his men to kill them all. And I like how the scene played out. The one part I wish they had included was showing us them gunning down all her people, and then showing her expression as she watches that all unfold. I feel like just seeing her face as it happens wasn't as great as it could have been if they showed them all being gunned down. It just could have been me wanting that, but I feel like that would have been just a tad bit better. But let me know what you guys think about that scene in the comment section down below. And then after that, of course, you got Simon returning to the sanctuary, and he lies to Negan about what happened, and then at the last few minutes, you see him looking down his boot, and he's got the paint from Jason's painting. And I like how that's kind of like the reminder of what happened there. And again, I want to mention how this part of the story is kind of like cuts off too quick, because you got the Savior coming up to Negan saying Rick's on the phone, and it's like they cut off right there, and they should have just gone right to Rick's story. But of course, we know we can't do that because you got Jadis' story. But it felt like the way they structured the episode, it felt like they said, "Oh, Rick's calling," and then they it's like they dangled the carrot in your face and then pulled it away in a way. let me know what you think of how the structure is being played out in this episode. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know in the comment section down below. And we got the Jada story, and this one's interesting. I like how they pick up right where the Michonne story left off, and you got her talking normal now instead of in the broken English kind of way. And I like how they got that now. And you got her and Rick's had enough at this point. He has had enough of her games, and he doesn't think she can offer them anything at this point because her people are all dead, and he just leaves her pretty much to die. And I really, as much as I agree with Rick, one thing I liked about this episode is you feel bad about Jadis. And this is, if you watch my recent comic reviews, I always talk about how when they make you feel bad for the villain and feel sorry for them, that's when they did something great. And they actually make me feel bad for Jadis in this episode, and I really like that. And he leaves her, and then I really like this way she killed the zombies using the meat grinder thing. And I really like that. I like how they're just reinventing new ways and to mass kill zombies in a way. I really like that. And it was pretty gory and something we haven't seen, something different in a way, if you understand what I mean. I like how it's something different that we haven't seen. And other than that, nothing much happened. Rick leaves Jadis by herself and pretty much abandons her at that point, and she's pretty much left alone, pretty much to figure out what to do next. And she's a bit of a wild card at this point, because her story could go in many different directions right now, and I'm interested to see what they do with her character moving forward. And then finally, you got the Rick story, and after leaving Jadis by herself, he decides to pull over. He looks at the letters that Carl wrote, and he sees that he wrote one to Negan, which Michonne had mentioned earlier in the episode. Now, this is one question I'm curious about, is why Carl wrote one to Negan, because if you think about it, he was going to kill him a few days earlier in the season 7 finale. He was about to bash his head in if it wasn't for Shiva. So why would he write a letter to Negan since he was going to kill him? That's just my one question. Like, I don't totally understand that. Like, if someone was about to kill me a couple days ago and then I was about to die, why would I write them a letter? It just doesn't seem like, just seems weird. And another thing I want to mention with the letters, I feel like they could have used the letters instead with the title cards. Like, have Rick look at each letter and then have it jump to that character's story. I know in a way it wouldn't work due to the fact that he didn't write a letter to Simon or Jadis, but I think that would have been such a better way to kind of connect the different stories together in a way, make it look a little bit cooler. But I don't know, let me know what you think. Do you think the letters would have been a cool way to do it? But you got Rick calling to Negan, and Negan does feel remorse. He asks Rick if it was one of his men or his fault that Carl died, and Rick says no. And I think that was part of his way of like making sure he wasn't at fault. He was probably gonna punish one of his men if it was. And I feel like I really like that scene. And at the same time, Negan just reminds Rick, if you hadn't gone to war, this wouldn't have happened. Carl wouldn't have been out there. You wouldn't have been out there. You would have been able to protect him, and you failed at that. And I really kind of like that. And I like how Negan isn't feeling remorse, but is at the same time. And another thing I want to mention here quick is says that he had plans for Carl, but yet look at those plans been. I mean, he was going to kill him again a few days earlier. Like, he wanted him dead. Like, did he really have plans, or was that like an empty threat? Let me know what you think in the comments section down below. But I really like how this episode ends. But again, I feel like it kind of derailed a bit in the ending too, because you just have Rick standing there in the field, and it just stood there for a couple seconds before cutting to black, and it just felt a little weird. But let me know what you think in the comment section down below. So yeah, guys, that's my review of this episode of The Walking Dead. Again, it's not one of my favorites, but again, it's not one of the worst episodes out there. It's just okay. But I really liked it. I do think I would definitely watch this episode again. I'm very excited to see what they do moving forward. Again, though, I think there was just some tweaks they could have made with some of the choices they made to reveal, like, the walkers at the beginning of the episode. I just think they could have just changed a few things. It would have made it a little bit better. But I really like this episode. Just hit the subscribe button down below and hit the bell icon. That way you won't miss any more of my future reviews on The Walking Dead moving forward. This has been Vision with Blind Entertainment, and I'll see you next time.